We did a top 10 of strikers in Football Manager 2022 first of all. Then we did centre-backs. Today, I'm going to rank my favourite top 10 central midfielders in this year's game. It should be interesting. It should cause debates. It should be fun. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another top 10 video. Today, having already ranked our favourite strikers, we've already ranked our favourite centre-backs. Today, we're going to be looking in the midfield at central midfielders. After this, we could go and maybe look at wingers or fullbacks or even goalkeepers if you wanted to. If you do want to see those videos, let me know in the comments down below. But today, as I mentioned, midfield is where we're going to be drawing our focus. We're going to be looking at central midfielders specifically, and it's a bit of an interesting one because you've got defensive type midfielders, you've got those attacking type midfielders, you've got those engines in the midfield. I'm going to try to encompass all of them, and now that we're like, what, 10 months into this game, I think we've all got our favourite players, so I'm hoping for a lot of debate as well. I want you guys to put forward your favourites too in the comments down below. Then you've got my top 10 in the video. You've also got all of the players that are down in the comments down below to hopefully go and find you your next signing in your Football Manager 2022 save. That's the plan. Should we get into it? Oh, before we do, a quick disclaimer once again. I feel like I do need to say this in these videos because ultimately someone's going to comment this. We know this, right? They're going to say, you haven't even picked Kevin De Bruyne or Pedri or whoever it might be. If we were looking for the best players in FM22, we could just do a search, right? In the game, we could look at the players that had the best current ability in the game. And of course, they are going to be brilliant. Today's list are my favourites. Having played the game a lot now and done a whole range of different saves, these are my favourite central midfielders. And most of them are pretty attainable. You can buy most of them. Some of them are going to be quite expensive, but some of them are going to be super cheap too. And they will get the job done. I think they kind of fit the meta for FM22, which we've looked at strikers. We wanted them to be big, tall and fast. We looked at centre-backs. We wanted them to be big, tall and fast. Midfield, it's actually slightly different, although big, tall and fast, it's still good. This year's engine just seems to love it, doesn't it? Big, beefy, meaty boys. Before we do jump into my top 10, a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel if you've not done so already. Again, we're really close to 15,000 subscribers now. Any support from you guys is so appreciated. Thank you to everybody who is already subscribed. And if you're not, click the button because it's free and it makes me happy inside. Also, leave me those comments down below. As I said before, I want to know your favourite central midfielders. And also, leave a like on today's video. If we hit 500 likes on today's video, we'll do a top 10 wing-backs / full-backs in Football Manager 22 video. That's a promise. So it's a tall order, but I think you guys can do it. One final thank you is to those of you who have subscribed to the Patreon and pledged some support over there. It's very, very much appreciated. You will find your names in the videos from this point onwards. And if you do want to support over on Patreon too, click the link that is in the description. You can see all of the benefits that you get over there, as well as the fact that you will see your name in all of our videos for the foreseeable future. Thank you once again to those Patreons. It is hugely, hugely appreciated. Let's get back into our top 10 central midfielders in Football Manager 22. Into the ratings we go then. At number 10, it's Marcos Antonio, a player that I've signed for my Hertha Brazil team, which is the Twitch save at the moment. If you want to go and follow over there, it's twitch.tv/Clayts. We are Hertha Berlin, but only signing Brazilians. And this is one of our central midfielders, Marcos Antonio. He's not spectacular by any means. That's why this list is all to do with my favourites, players that I think are effective in the match engine. And I think Marcos Antonio ticks a lot of boxes, mainly because of some of the things that you see on his profile here, like off the ball and his decisions and his work rate. He is an engine in this midfield. He's got decent natural fitness too. We managed to pick him up. Obviously, we paid a little bit more, and this is over the course of quite a long time. We paid 40 million to start with as we brought him in from Shakhtar. I just think he's a really good midfielder. Maybe not so much in terms of his output, looking at his statistics here, but in the match engine, he does that thing that so many midfielders do, which we're going to really look for in our top 10 today, where he breaks the line and runs from deep in that midfield and gets himself into the box. I'm actually training him at the moment to hopefully pick up arrives late in opponent's area, which I think can revolutionize his game. If he picks that up, we're going to talk about that a little bit more in today's video. But Marcos Antonio, I really do like the way that he conducts himself on the field. So he's my number 10. Let's move through to number 9. And in at number 9 is a player that I very nearly signed for Hertha Brazil in the same save. It is Matheus Nunes. Now, you're probably saying, how could you sign him? He's Portuguese. He's half Brazilian, which is why we almost signed him. The fact that he wasn't Brazilian made me not sign him in the end. He's ended up going to Liverpool, as you can see in this save, and you can see why by having a quick look at his profile here. He is an all-encompassing central midfielder, really very well-rounded. If you look at his profile again, he's got that vision, he's got that technique, he's got the dribbling. He's kind of quite a technical player on the ball, as you can see. I think he's really, really good. He's got what you want in midfield. He's got a whole load of player traits too that make him really good. You can pick him up for relatively cheap. Relatively, I say, you know, proportionally compared to some other midfielders, but that would be as good as him, like a Kevin De Bruyne, somewhat comparable. He's going to be a lot cheaper than him. And you can see getting a move to Liverpool just shows how good he is. Starting off at Sporting Lisbon there. Portuguese midfielder. I think he's really good. I've actually seen him turn out even better than this in some saves too. I like a player that you can get on the ball and dribble with. Great technique. He's just really good, isn't he? That's Matheus Nunes, who's my number 9 favourite central midfielder. Let's move through to number 8. And in at number 8 is this man here, Maximilian Arnold. He plays for Wolfsburg, and as you can see, I'm using him here in a Wolfsburg save. For some of these players, by the way, I'm showing you my save. So we're in 2023 in this particular save. We had a look at the Hertha save beforehand, so you can kind of see how they turn out a few years into the game. Of course, when you look at them in your games, if it's at the start, they might look a little bit different. Of course, also, it's a little bit dynamic now. Some of the player profiles will be a bit different in terms of their attributes as well. This is Arnold a couple of years in, and as you can see, he's very, very good. You can probably see why I like him as well, and that's because he's a set piece taker. He is like a JWP, James Ward-Prowse light. He would be my go-to if I couldn't sign James Ward-Prowse, and spoiler, we might see James Ward-Prowse in my list a little bit later on. Maximilian Arnold, though, he's got 17 corners, 17 free kick taken. He's also got great long shots too, which is quite nice in this engine. You also see he's got lovely physicals, like the staminas there, the natural fitness. He can get himself up and down with that work rate as well. Very aggressive. I think he's just a brilliant midfielder. Or if you have a look at his output, if you get him on those set pieces, he will get assists. This particular season, he's got 9 assists so far in 30 games there, which is a decent output for a team where this Wolfsburg team have not been playing particularly well with them. But he's also left-footed. He's very like a few of the other players that you're going to see in this top 10. I just think he's worth signing. You can probably pick him up for fairly cheap. He's a little bit older. He's now 28, a couple of years in. So he's not one of these youngsters that are going to be super, super expensive. He's also got a perfectionist personality. So he's going to be a great mentor in the future, for example. Maybe somebody you've not paid too much attention to. That's Maximilian Arnold. He's my number 8 in my list. Let's move through to the next one. And at number 7, we have an old favourite of mine, maybe an old favourite of yours. If you've played FM over the past few seasons, Dominic CalvertLewin is probably a name that you know very well. Maybe not a name that you can pronounce very well. I've had a lot of practice. Dominic CalvertLewin, I think it's something like that anyway. Feel free to correct me in the comments down below. I know you love to do that. CalvertLewin, though, is my number 7 pick because, once again, he's got those set pieces. He's brilliant at corners, brilliant at free kicks. He's also brilliant at penalties as well, which is a bit of a bonus. He's also a bit of a flair player, as you can see by this here, as well as being very well-rounded. Again, I'm going to say that quite a lot in today's video, I feel like, but it's a midfielder. You want them to be well-rounded. You want them to be able to cover defensively. Maybe some of them more than others. CalvertLewin, I'm not going to get him to do too much defensive stuff because he's got 9 tackling. But actually, he can get himself up and down the pitch and, you know, cover those areas pretty comfortably. He is also 6'1", which is probably a bonus, and he's quick as well in that midfield. I do like a pacey. If you're going to use like a box-to-box midfielder, if I show you his midfield attributes here instead, if you want a box-to-box midfielder, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is somebody I've used quite a lot in the past, you want them to have a bit of pace about them, especially to get up and down, and they can kind of get in behind the strikers, which you see a lot from this year's central midfielders. Also, have you seen when a midfielder makes a run from deep, the centre-backs just kind of wave at them as they go past? So CalvertLewin's definitely got that in his locker. If you want to use the somewhat OP player role of central midfielder on attack, this guy can do that for sure. If you look at the attributes he's got for it, I really, really like him. We're going to see this with a few of our midfielders that we get to later on as well. This central midfield attack, it's so useful. It's so good in the engine that actually getting players that can play it well, it might well be the order of the day. Number 7 for me, Dominic CalvertLewin. Let's move through to number 6. At number 6, it's this man here. It's Enis Bardi. He is a little bit older in this particular save. We're in 2025 in this one, but I've also signed him for Wolfsburg. I've also had him a fair few times in different saves too. He is brilliant, and you can maybe see why. He's similar in a mold to like Arnold rather than like Szoboszlai. Although Szoboszlai has got the set pieces, Enis Bardi is just really good at free kicks. He's got those long shots. He's very similar to Maximilian Arnold, which is a certain profile that I do like to use in this year's game. He's also, again, very well-rounded. He can do a lot of things very, very well. He's also going to be a bit cheaper than some of our other options, which does mean that he's a player that is going to be high up my list, because cheap bargains, we all like a cheap bargain, don't we? Enis Bardi, in at number 6, he can definitely provide in terms of assists. He can take those free kicks. He's decent at the corners as well. He will also be in that midfield doing some nice stuff too with these attributes. He's good at passing with 15, 14 vision in this particular save. His strength is a little bit low, but do you know what? For the price you will pay for him, because maybe he's that bit older, he's also starting at Levante, which means you can buy him. He's purchasable. He's not going to be stuck at a big club where you can't tempted to come and join you. Enis Bardi came and joined me at Wolfsburg really, really easily, and I think pretty cheaply as well. And I recommend him highly. I like him a lot. He's got decent player traits too, including arrives late in opponent's area, which I think is super, super OP this year. You may have seen some other creators talk about that too. I really do think you need to look out for this one, especially if you're going to be using that central midfield attack or maybe a Metzala role. That's what you want. You want them to get in and come in late and score goals and get on the end of things, which you will see a lot. One of my players we're going to get to is the master of that, I do believe. Enis Bardi, though, is number 6. Let's move through to my top 5. To start the top 5 then, it is a real channel favourite, a personal favourite of mine. It's Michal Cuisance. I've signed this man in so many saves consecutively, including the Hertha Brazil save where I'm only signing Brazilians. I had to rename him to Michal Cuisantos because he was that important to us that we had to bring him in. And you might be looking at him and thinking, he doesn't look very good, but you're just going to have to trust me on this one. He's my favourite because he will produce no matter what. He was integral in my Hereford save last year on FM21. This year, he started brilliantly for Hertha Brazil as well, even though he didn't look particularly good. He starts off quite young in the game. He's a Bayern Munich ex-youngster. He's actually moved to Venezia fairly recently. I hope his career gets back on track there, but we ended up selling him in this save after, for the first couple of seasons, he was really, really good. He got 10 assists here, look, and played a lot of games for us. Even in the second season, he got 9 assists and played a lot of games. 7.24 rating, 7.39 rating. His profile doesn't look like he should get these ratings, but you just have to trust me, he will. I managed to bring him in as well, look. He's very cheap on loan and then sign him for £4.1 million. He's affordable for most saves at that type of money. Whether he's a little bit more difficult to buy now since he's moved to Venezia, maybe, but if you're playing pre-patch before he was moved there, he's so easy to go and buy. He's brilliant because of a few of his attributes. He's got brilliant corners. He's got really good free kicks as well at 14, which is good enough. And he's got great passing and technique. He can just play the ball around. He's definitely a playmaker of some kind. I like to deploy him as the deep line playmaker in a midfield too, and he does that brilliantly for me for quite a long time now. Again, I know he doesn't look like he's going to be amazing. You just have to trust me. He just is. He gets brilliant ratings. Maybe because of the set pieces, get him on your corners, get him on your free kicks, but that will carry him through and he will be an excellent, excellent player for you. Mickey C, or Michal Cuisance, is number 5. Let's go through to number 4. Number 4 on my list is somebody that I think flies under the radar, and I'm not quite sure. Maybe because in-game he's a little bit better than he is in real life, potentially, or just because, I don't know, he's just not talked about that much. It's Ismail Benacer. I think he is sensational. Maybe you guys have signed him too, but have a look at this for a profile. I bet you weren't thinking he was as good as this unless you've actually gone and signed him. This profile now, what are we? 4 seasons in here. He's playing for Manchester United. He starts off the game at AC Milan, look, where he was signed from Empoli for £14 million. He's moved to Manchester United in this particular save because he's got this profile here. He's got brilliant balance. Look at these mentals here. Anticipation, bravery, composure, all above 16. Great determination, teamwork. He's also got those important things like 14 corners, 16 first touch, 16 passing. That passing and vision in that midfield. If you're going to play a deep line playmaker, Ismail Benacer could well be your guy. I know I showed the stream him a few weeks ago, and the stream was like, oh my word, he is really good, isn't he? He's really, really good. He's almost like your go-to deep line playmaker. If you want to bring in somebody who is elite, he can definitely be elite and probably purchasable as well. United only signed him for £28 million starting at Milan. I don't think he's that difficult to go and buy if you're playing as a top flight team. He's now 27 as well. So he starts off fairly young at what, 4 years ago. He's about 23, 24 to start off the game. Just think he's sensational. He's got some decent player traits too if you want to have a little flick through those there. And yeah, I think he's really good. That's why he's number 4 in my list. We're going to now move through to the top 3. Let's do it. Okay, into the top 3 we go then, and at number 3, it's this man here. It's Thomas Souček. Now, maybe a surprise choice, maybe not. If you've ever used him in game, then maybe not a surprise choice. We used him last year, actually, in the Schalke save, which was pretty popular here on YouTube. This man here is sensational. Let me show you just his profile to start with. In terms of any role that you want him to do here, he's brilliant defensively, but he's also brilliant going forward too. He's got sensational physicals, being a bit of a beast at 6'4", which is very useful and something you know that I treasure highly in a Football Manager player. He's also got, though, some unbelievably useful player traits. For example, he arrives late in opponent's area. This man here, play him as a Metzala on attack, play him as a central midfielder on attack. You will get this man going past the defenders and getting on the end of through balls. He'll put the ball in the back of the net. He's also such a threat from set pieces with the 18 heading and 17 jumping reach. He can kind of do it all. He's not bad at passing as well. Just on top of that, 12 passing, 10 vision. Can cope, right? If you're going to play him as like a box-to-box or that central midfield attack, you are getting a little bit of everything with Thomas Souček. And I mean, he's now 29 years old, and you can just see how he's turned out in this particular save. Having stayed at West Ham, they've ended up paying him £140,000 per week because he is that good. He is definitely somebody I would be going to try and sign. He might not come particularly cheap because he's now at a Premier League team. West Ham are decent. He's going to have a bit of value, but he's every bit worth everything you will pay for him. Thomas Souček, number 3, get him on central midfield attack, get him into that box, get him go forward. Look, he's got gets forward whenever possible. Get him scoring goals for you. Enjoy it. He's number 3. Let's go to number 2. At number 2, it's this man here. It's Jude Bellingham. I've gone across to my Barcelona save where I've signed him for Barcelona, and just have a look at this profile here. He is so good in Football Manager 2022. So good that I couldn't leave him out of this list. I know he's expensive. I know he's literally a wonder kid. I know he's like, what, 4 years into the game, he's 21 years old. We all know how good Jude Bellingham is, but do we know he's this good? Because have a look at this for a profile. He can do any role you want him to do and do it brilliantly. He's got 14 tackling if you want to play him defensively. On top of that, though, you can send him further forward, and he's got 14 finishing. He can do a bit of everything at this stage, and that's without mentioning a lot of these greens here. Like, he's got unbelievable aggression and composure. He's got the 18 work rate to get up and down. He's pacey, 16 pace. He's got 17 acceleration in this midfield in this particular save. He's got gets into opposition area, which means just like Souček, he will get on the end of those through balls. He will push past those defenders who just won't track him. He will score goals for you. If I show you some of his output for Barcelona here in this save, this year he's scored 5 goals from central midfield and got 11 assists in the league. He's got 12 goals all competition, 16 assists, 7.39 since we signed him for 99 million. Yes, he is expensive. He's been sensational for Barcelona. I'm using him in this role here. Look, in this team, central midfield attack. He can just break the lines and be so important. I mean, by the way, look how good this Barcelona team is. If we were going to go with, these are central midfielders. If we were going to go with attacking midfielders, by the way, Jamal Musiala might just be the best one on the game, in my opinion. He's just so good. He's torn me apart so many times in my Hertha Brazil save, so that's why I signed him in the Barcelona one. As we move past Jude Bellingham, though, at number 2, that means I need to tell you who my number 1 midfielder is in FM22. Let's do it. And the number 1 is, probably to no surprise to people who watch this channel on a regular basis, it's James Ward-Prowse. He's the man. He is the man. On FM21, we went and won him a Ballon d'Or because I just thought he's going to be able to do it because he's got these attributes here. He's so good that he had to be my number 1. Yes, there are maybe more enterprising midfielders, but just look at this. I bet if you've not seen how good James Ward-Prowse is on FM, then this might be eye-opening for you. If you have seen it, you know it all too well. But he's got 20s in so many different places as a player. Yes, he's got the set pieces. We know that, right? He's got the 20 corners, 20 free kick taking. You know how important I find that as well. We've seen players like Cuisance be on the list, players like Maximilian Arnold. Because of the set pieces, they can be that important. He's got that. But on top of that, he's got some sensational attributes as well, has James Ward-Prowse. He's got 20 stamina, 20 natural fitness. He is the archetypal engine in this midfield. If you want to deploy him in that way, he's just as adept at being a deep line playmaker, or if you want to use him as a box-to-box midfielder. You could even, I think, use him as a Metzala on attack too. He's got the attributes for it. Maybe even that central midfielder on attack that we talked about. He doesn't have the player traits. Maybe just see if you can train them into his game. He'll be so good. He's got the work rate as well. He's got the vision. He's obviously good at passing 16. All of the key attributes, especially for this one here, to be a deep line playmaker. He has them all in abundance, and then set pieces on top. He's just so good. Yes, he's English, so yes, he's going to be expensive. That's a thing that happens in FM. Yes, Southampton aren't going to want to sell him. Yes, he's maybe a little bit older now at 28, 2 years in. So you know what? He doesn't start off as a wonder kid or anything. But James Ward-Prowse, you just have to get him into your team if you can. I really feel it that strongly. He's clearly and above and beyond anybody else in terms of who is my favourite and who I think the best central midfielder is in FM22. James Ward-Prowse takes the #1 spot, and that is my top 10. As always though, if you've got recommendations that you want to give too, make sure you do get them in the comments down below. And if you're watching this thinking, who should I sign as my next central midfielder, have a look at my top 10, but have a look at the comments down below too, because I'm sure there are some brilliant players being put forward by others there, being recommended by others. But that is where we will leave it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please do leave a like on the video. It pushes it out to the wider audience too, and that brings new people into our little channel, and then, you know, they subscribe and we're all happy, aren't we? Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you to my Patreons, and have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Remember, actually, 500 likes, we'll do fullbacks. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.